sleeping giant is becoming active after 800 years of silence in Alaska's remote wilderness. A once dormant volcano long thought to be dormant. Magma is moving deep beneath the Mount Fuji-sized volcano. The movement doesn't mean southeast Alaska's most prominent volcano will erupt soon, or ever, but it's significant enough that the observatory has raised the volcano's threat level. Internally, our thinking about Edgecumbe has changed. It's definitely gone up, said Cheryl Cameron, a state geologist who works at the Volcano Observatory. Observatory officials have been paying more attention to Edgecumbe since April of last year, when a string of small earthquakes drew attention to the volcano, which was thought to be dormant. New information released Friday shows that earthquakes are continuing. Hikers have seen gas bubbling from the ground near the volcano, and satellite radar measurements show that the ground around the volcano is bulging upward. What our latest update is really saying is, hey, this unrest is still going on. We still think the magma is too deep, can't erupt. If it does erupt, we expect a lot of activity before it happens, said Michelle Coombs, a USGS geologist and scientist in charge at the Alaska Volcano Observatory. In a paper published in October in the journal Geophysical Research Letters, scientist Ronnie Grapenthan reported that the ground on the volcano's eastern flank is bulging outward more rapidly than at any other volcano in Alaska. Other volcanoes have undergone similar deformation without eruptions, Coombs said, adding that the land around Laguna del Mal in Chile is rising outward even faster than Edgecumbe, and has lasted longer without an eruption. Mount Edgecumbe is now considered a high-risk volcano, one step below the state's very high-risk volcanoes: Augustine, Spur, Redoubt, Akutan, and Makishan. Risk isn't just the possibility of an eruption, Coombs said. It's also based on how close the volcano is to homes, businesses, and buildings. Mount Rainier, in Washington state, hasn't erupted in more than 500 years, and shows no signs of one, but it's the third highest risk in the country because it poses a threat to people living nearby. There are no written accounts of eruptions from Mount Edgecumbe, but Tlingit oral tradition Laux describes Shah, Edgecumbe's original name, as a mountain that shimmered, spewed fire and smoke about 800 to 900 years ago. Scientific core samples indicate eruptions between about 4,000 and 4,300 years ago, and many before that. To a geologist, 4,000 years ago is pretty recent, you know? Coombs said. A series of eruptions about 14,000 years ago spread volcanic ash across southeast Alaska, which may have helped melt glaciers that covered the region at the time. Now there are about 73,000 people living in the area. Sitka, with a population of about 8,400, is 14 miles away. Don Cluding and his wife, Denise Turley, are among those 8,400, and they frequently travel to Kruzof Island, home to Mount Edgecumbe, off Sitka Sound, for hiking and bird watching. In October, they found something new. Gas was leaking from several ponds on the eastern side of the island. Turley said his first thought was that the bubbles were caused by something rotting in the ponds or tidal action, but he had never seen anything like it before and thought the bubbles were so remarkable that he reported them to Cameron, who is Tlingit and from Sitka. That report prompted the Volcano Observatory to plan a gas sampling mission that could begin as early as May. If the gas coming out of the lakes is magmatic, it would be another sign of activity at the volcano, he said. Around the same time, the observatory will install 3 or 4 additional instrument stations on the volcano. These stations will use GPS to track the volcano's continuing expansion, and their seismographs will help scientists triangulate small earthquakes that occur within the volcano as the magma moves around. The observatory also plans a meeting with Sitka residents to educate them about the volcano, Cameron said. Partly because of their experience, Cluding and Turley have tracked events more closely than others. They said they are not concerned about the volcano's speed or the distant possibility of an eruption. I think I trust the science on this one, Cluding said. I've definitely heard from people who are very concerned and they feel like they're being bullied. After talking to Cheryl and the crew, I think the monitoring works. I think there's science behind it. I think they're doing due diligence and following it, and they believe there will be plenty of warning if we ever get to that point, and that may never happen.